How's it going, bud? What's going on over
The
there?
Minnesota Tim podcast. We're back.
We're back. Who are you going to vote for this year?
So I was having sex with my wife the other night.
Were you?
Classic Chappelle show skit.
Yeah. Chappelle's the best.
It's great.
Well, the Eagles had their bye week this week.
Perfect time. Perfect time to get healthy.
Yeah.
Vikings coming off another big win, staying undefeated.
Lots to talk about. Got some video of something that I need you to react to.
Robert Saleh,
Yeah.
coach fired this year. You I know this is the Minnesota Tim podcast. You focus mainly on Minnesota sports, and especially this time of the year, the Vikings, but you follow playoff baseball at all?
I have seen that the Dodgers lost again last night. Yeah.
Playoff baseball is the best.
Yeah. Playoff baseball is very, very good.
I love playoff baseball.
The intensity is so much higher than it is during the regular season. Like, you can't even make a comparison between the two. I suppose you burn yourself off 162 games, and it's just like, oh, just get me through this. Well, you finally get through the crappy, long MLB season. This brings up a good conversation. Like, if you had to participate in a single professional sport, what professional sport would you want to participate in? I think, like, baseball would be ranked on the bottom tier of that list. 162 games, like 5 or 6 games a week. You fly to this city, you have a game. Well, then you got to fly to the next city, have another game. Games start at 7, but you're at the park at like 2. Heading practice, pitching, whatever. Shaking fly balls. I don't think I would pick a sport lower than baseball.
I don't know. Baseball would be pretty high up on my list as far as long term. You can make a ton of money. You're not physically killing yourself.
That's true.
Like with some other sports.
Yeah.
If you're a pitcher, you've got it awesome because every pitcher now seems to throw 106 miles an hour. You start once every 5 days. You maybe work an hour and a half because you're on a pitch count, and they're not going to go, you're not going to start 40 games like they did in Bob Gibson's era. And I don't know. Baseball would be awesome.
I just think it's just so boring. Like, imagine being one of those bullpen pitchers or even a starting pitcher, just going every single game, and you got to sit in the bullpen for 4 games, then you start. I think I'd just be extremely bored.
See, I've heard people say that ever since I was a kid. Did you play baseball at all, like when you were younger?
Yes, I did. Yep.
So I did too. Baseball, probably second to football, is my favorite sport. So football, baseball, and then basketball, everything else. Whenever people say baseball is boring, I feel like I've never understood that, because to me, in the bottom of the 6th inning in a 2-score game, and you've got a guy, or a 1-score game, and you got a guy on second base, and the pitcher's working the batter, and the batter's trying to work the count, take pitches, good eye, all
the details in the game.
Yeah, like all of that little stuff to me is awesome. And then what they did last year with some of the changes with speeding up the game, and the games aren't 4 hours long.
That was a very important decision that they made, yeah.
And things like that. I don't know. That's just me personally. I get why people would say baseball is boring. I just never fully got it.
I think baseball players will admit that their own sport is boring. This is probably a long time ago. Maybe this isn't the great example, but was it the Boston Red Sox that literally put like alcohol in their drinks in the bullpen so that they could be drinking during the game?
The stories of baseball from like the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s are awesome. The steroids era.
Right.
I feel like baseball now with players is super boring.
Yeah.
As far as just like the characters and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
but reading about those like the old times, the old days of
the
ball
Bonds
players,
and Sosas and McGuires.
there is a funny story from, I think it's Mickey Mantle, that at the end of the year they would do some like survey thing, and it's his handwriting. It's been authenticated. You can cut this if you want because it may be vulgar for what you want to put out, but the question was just like, what was your favorite memory from this past season? And he wrote down, I got a blowjob underneath the seats of Yankee Stadium or something like that. And then I forget what the second question is, but then it was like, then she asked me to kiss her, and I was like, what do you think? I'm a cocksucker? I'm not. It was like, I feel like that was just like,
we need to bring that back into the game these days. Like, there's just
blowjobs underneath the bleachers during the seventh inning stretch.
Talk about a seventh inning stretch.
I don't know if I want to Google Mickey Mantle blowjob. Might not be the best.
God bless all America.
Right in my eye.
Think about, I don't know, the Colorado Rockies. And I feel like they're a crappy team every single year. When's the last time the Colorado Rockies have been a good baseball team? You think about being a bullpen pitcher on one of those teams, or even worse, think about being a double-A 32-year-old pitcher that has no chance to make it into the big leagues. You're bringing home $400 a month. Oh, that just sounds awful. But I get it. I get that it's a low impact on your body compared to like football and even basketball. You're running up and down the floor a lot, but I think golf might be high on that list. Like if you're a Scotty Scheffler and you play 20 tournaments a year, 20 weeks a year of work, you bring in what made like $60 million in one season on the PGA Tour this past year.
Golf would be cool. I think it would be cool to be like the 50th ranked golfer in the world, because the 50th ranked golfer in the world, you're still making a few $1,000,000 a year. Probably no one knows you outside of the small niche world of golf. Mm-hmm. So like you can take a flight, you can go out, you can do all these things without like being mobbed, needing like, security, all those kind of things. And you could still live a normal life, but then your 9 to 5 is, hey, honey, I'm going to go to the range and bang balls for 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I do think that since we are not professional athletes, or at least I'm not, maybe you are.
Speak for yourself.
That I think we tend to think it's a lot cooler than what it actually is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what a life to live, a professional athlete. I think there's a lot of professional athletes that are very good at what they do, but don't necessarily love what they do because they've been doing it for their entire lives. And so they're good at it, but just like any other job, they don't necessarily want to do it.
Yeah. You fantasize it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. What would your thoughts be? Actually, this might be the best job in the world. What if you're a kicker on an NFL team or a punter? That might be better than any of them. You work for 17 weeks a season in terms of, the games and practices during the season. Of course, you got training camps and you got OT. But what's a punter doing during training camp? You're punting the ball.
Coffin corner.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to Madden. So I think that's a pretty easy job.
Yeah, I feel a kicker. Yeah, I don't know if I would want to be a kicker. I feel like anytime a kicker, though, like anytime they even like fall down or have to attempt to make a tackle, they're hurt for the entire season. It's like you cannot be. I don't know if they were in high school and college, just like they just decided not to, like, they just became glass or what. But like, I don't know, I feel like you breathe on them wrong and then they're hurt. It's like, all right, well now, and then you get, then you got the young stud out of Georgia who comes up and just takes your job. And it's like, all right, now I'm not a kicker anymore. I'm going to go
Right.
work in
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah, we have a kicker right now, not Greg Zerline, Will Reichard, who's just been an animal this year, 9 for 9. But it's like, as soon as these kickers miss like a massive playoff kick, like their mental health just goes straight out the window.
Yeah.
Like Blair Walsh, there's not a position more mental than a kicker. Obviously, there's a lot of physical attributes, but you see kickers like Gary Anderson, who doesn't miss a field goal all year until the NFC Championship game. Then it just falls off the face of the earth. Blair Walsh, incredible rookie season for the Minnesota Vikings. Misses a 27-yard kick versus the Seattle Seahawks. Can't make a single kick in the NFL anymore, and is a realtor in California. I tried to get him on my show like a few years ago. I texted him because his number is available online, and he didn't respond. I said, "Can I buy a house?" He never responded back.
Nothing. Wasn't even enticed by your offer of buying a house.
I didn't actually text him that. I said, "Hey Blair, you want to come on my show and talk about your missed kick, 27-yarder?"
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be great for my brand.
You know what I was just thinking the other day? I would love to talk about the worst moment in my entire life.
Really? What's your worst moment in your entire life?
Oh, so I was having sex with my wife the other night.
Happened during sex?
No.
Oh.
Laundry list to go through if we go down that road, bud.
Speaking of worst moments, maybe this was Greg Zerline's best moment of his life. That's incredible focus.
A one-handed stab there at the end.
What?
A one-handed catch, one-handed stab.
I don't get it.
At the end of the clip, the guy threw the ball and he caught it one-handed.
Oh, really? Oh, that's what you're focused on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was focused on Greg Zerline kicking between 8 cheerleaders.
Do we know if he made the kick or not?
I'm not sure. It's a good question.
Might have missed it. That might have just been all for show.
Could have been. It could have just been sitting there, just enjoying a good time.
It was a plant by the Jets to get the focus off of Robert Saleh.
I hope his wife wasn't watching that clip, or he's in the doghouse when he got back from London. Yeah. What were you doing? I was trying to kick the ball.
Opens the door. What the hell was that? Did you do that on purpose?
Camera pans up.
I was practicing my kicks. Yes, I did do that on purpose.
Camera pans up.
Maybe it just turns around and just got a big old boner.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no way to have a little half chub there, right?
He kicks with his boner. Here we go. His balls take 2 steps back and 3 steps over. And
the holder is holding it with his butthole.
The tee. He's got it teed up in his butthole. Then Devin Hester's bush calls a fair catch.
Oh my goodness.
There's just 22 other boners 40 yards up with the new kickoff rules.
There's a punt, and then the ball is trickling towards the goal line, and then a boner dives into the end zone to send the ball back.
2 ball tap, get back in the end zone. Oh, unreal.
Oh, wow. It's crazy how these things go. I was looking at the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. You got Cleveland, should be a W. New York, very possible W. At Cincinnati, versus Jacksonville, at Dallas. Now, the challenge with you guys, Dallas is now 3-2. The Washington Commanders are, 4-1?
Mm-hmm.
So, if Nick Sirianni, the hot seat's still on him, a lot of people are talking about him being gone sometime mid-season, maybe. But that schedule gets friendly out of this bye week. But you can't guarantee a victory at this point against New York or Cincinnati.
I think over the next 4 games, they have to be 4-0.
4-0.
4-0. They have to be 4-0 over the next quarter part of the season. You have to just destroy Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals and what they're doing on offense, I could see that being a tough game, but the Bengals can't stop anybody. Now, we're getting A.J. Brown back. We're getting Devontae Smith back. We're getting Lane Johnson back. So our offense should be back to humming before A.J. Brown went down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think we need to be 4-0. 3-1 I could handle. Anything other than that, then we've got major problems. Don't think we would do anything in the playoffs if they made it. I think there's issues if it's anything other than 4-0, 3-1.
At what point would Nick Sirianni get fired? What record over the next stretch of games do you think he's fired mid-season?
I don't think he gets fired mid-season. I think it would have to be another stretch like last year, where it's coming down the stretch where 5-10 or 5-11, something like that. And then one of those last games of the year, they just get blown out, show no fight, anything like that. Sorry, phlegmy this morning.
Wow.
And I don't know, the Eagles owner, Jeffrey Lurie, he's typically, he's only had a few head coaches, but he's typically not in season gonna let people go. If it is, I think the only time he's done it since that I can recall is back in Chip Kelly's final year. He fired him with 1 game left to go.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this because they should beat the Browns and they should beat New York, and the way Cincinnati's playing, that's a very winnable game too. So your guys' division is an interesting one to watch and to follow because of the games that you play and the way that Dallas has kind of turned it around and the way that the Commanders have looked with Jaden Daniels at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that Robert Saleh got fired? And if you were a head coach in the NFL, would you take that Jets job?
Absolutely. That's a good roster.
They have a good defense.
Good defense.
But do you want to coach Aaron Rodgers?
I think that's one of those things where you kind of cater towards him.
Mm-hmm.
I know he gets the bad publicity, bad press, and I think a lot of that is brought upon himself. But I don't know. I would until he has multiple 3 interception games and all of that kind of stuff. He's still Aaron Rodgers. He can still lead that. That
is his name.
Yeah, he's still who he is. That person.
Even though he throws 3 picks a game, his name is still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So it's not been a great start to the season for that offense. The defense has still been really good. But yeah, I don't know. I would take it. I feel like you get a Vrabel in there, you get a Bill Belichick in there. Those are guys who come with a lot of respect, and I don't think Rodgers is gonna, I don't think Rodgers is gonna try to supplant them as the leader of the team or anything like that. So yeah. That's definitely an enticing job.
Well, let's dive into a Google sesh. Last week we had a lot of fun doing a Google sesh. Is there anything you want to Google today? And to see what the search results share or show?
I don't know. Just start typing in. Let's see. What's your last result or search result that starts with a T?
Starts with a T.
Yeah.
Twitter to MP4.
Okay.
Trout Lake Camp, the most read book in the world.
Nice. What's Trout Lake Camp?
That is a youth group missions trip, kind of fall retreat that we're going on this year in about a month.
Throat cancer.
Throat cancer.
What's the most read book in the world?
The Bible.
The Bible. Correct.
Yep. With over 5 billion copies sold and distributed, the Bible takes the top spot as the most read and widely distributed book in the whole world.
Man, the author of that book must have made bank.
God, just sit over there. Sit.
What kind of publishing deal did God have on the Bible?
I hope he had copyright infringements.
Tony Lip.
See, what if I type in your name? What comes up? Tony.
There was a goalie when I was growing up who played for the Rangers, I believe.
You're a managing director in the Blackstone Real Estate Debt Strategies Group?
Look at me. That guy looks like he's been to jail.
This guy? Yeah, he does. Does he look like a predator?
Yeah, what was I going to say?
Wow. Look at you. Mr. LeBarber received a BS from McIntyre School of Commerce at the University of Vagina, where he graduated with distinction.
He's distinct in the female anatomy.
Oh, what's it like down there?
Look at that guy.
Oh, there's a lot of Tony LeBarbers out there.
Yeah, look at me. Personal trainer, vice president of something.
Here's you in
like he uses
30 years.
Prostitutes.
Wow.
Guardian
You're a big deal out here.
Look at me. Doctor.
Which one of these guys would you trade your actual life for?
None.
None.
I love my life, bud.
You just want to enjoy the Minnesota Tim podcast.
Oh, I love being here every Wednesday.
Hey, look at us.
Rise and grind. So how are you feeling about your 5-0 Vikings then?
Man.
Is there any feeling of the shoe has come off of the foot, Cinderella's turning back into a pumpkin with Sam Darnold? I've heard that phrase a lot.
Yeah.
This year. I feel like there's been a lot with Darnold, with Baker Mayfield, a couple other guys just playing well who have had not good careers. But how are you feeling after the performance? Are you feeling good about the defense overall? Seems like they've had a couple games now where you've had big leads, so you've got to.
I still feel really good about the squad, and I think a part of why I'm not so stricken or surprised or scared about Sam Darnold's performance against the Jets, 14 for 30, 179 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. He had like a passer rating in the 50s. I'm not like upset at his performance because I'm not surprised by his performance. He was never going to replicate 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions through the first 4 weeks of the season. He was always going to have some semblance of coming back to earth. So all of these people, MVP Darnold, he's back. This is the guy that we draft. All true through the first 4 weeks of the season, but there's no way he was going to continue that trend of being the best quarterback in the league through the first 4 weeks of the season. And even though he didn't play great against the Jets, he still led a drive at the end of the game following a pick that brought the Jets back into the game and got a field goal so that the Jets had to score a touchdown, which provided another big opportunity for the Vikings defense to turn Rodgers over, which they did. So I'm not surprised by Sam Darnold's, turning into a pumpkin kind of thing versus the Jets, because it was never going to be a perfect run through the season. And there's a time in the game where the Vikings handed the ball off to C.J. Ham and he rushed up and scored like a 4-yard touchdown. If the Minnesota Vikings decided to pass on that play and they scored a touchdown instead, how different would Sam Darnold's numbers look? It'd be a 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and his passer rating would look a lot better. His QBR would look a lot better. But the Vikings handed the ball off. C.J. Ham got into the end zone, and that's the way the Minnesota Vikings scored a touchdown in this ballgame. So the offense was definitely not as crisp, but the Jets' defense is also legit. They've got great corners. And I think the biggest thing for me going forward is the division. They come out of the bye week versus the Lions at home. They've got the Bears twice. They still got the Packers yet to play. And the worst team in the division right now is 3-2. So if the Minnesota Vikings have a hiccup throughout this regular season, well, they could go from first to worst in like 2 games. So the concern that I have right now is that there is no room for multiple weeks where they just stink, or the Bears, Packers, and Lions could all pass us immediately.
Is there any concern with how the team looks in the regular season, and then with what happened a couple years ago where you get to the wild card round and then just lay a complete dud? Is there any concern with this, or do you think this team has a better defense? Do you have more faith in Sam Darnold than you did in Kirk Cousins? What are your feelings there?
Well, our defense is way better than it was. Ed Donatil was the defensive coordinator, and we were giving up like the most passing yards in the entire league a couple of years ago, but they were getting turnovers at the end of the games at just the right time. And the offense was doing things throughout that regular season where it just didn't quite seem like they could duplicate it or replicate that in the playoffs. So even though that season was special where they won all of these 11 one-score games, it's like, okay, how consistent is that? How can you really duplicate that in the playoffs or the following season? So that was always my big concern that year. And this year's a little different because instead of the Minnesota Vikings needing to come back to win all these one-score games, they've gotten early leads. And my concern changes from, okay, how are we going to win all these one-score games to how will Sam Darnold perform when he's trailing by 3 points and they need a touchdown or a field goal to tie the game? How is Sam Darnold going to perform when the score is tied late fourth quarter, 4 minutes left, and you need a touchdown or a field goal to win? Versus right now, what we're seeing is that at the end of the game, the Minnesota Vikings have always had the lead. And Sam Darnold has been asked to have a game-sealing drive. You're up by 6, you need a field goal, seal the game. You're up by 3, get a field goal to go up by 6 points to make it a touchdown lead over the New York Jets. And he was able to do that 3 times this season. Did it against the Niners, did it against the Packers, got field goals in both of those games when he needed to, and he did it against the Jets too. So I think my concern shifts from, okay, well,
easy.
Can Sam Darnold now do this when the team is trailing late in the game?
Do you have more concern with that or the defense giving up some of these big leads and letting teams back into the game? Because you guys were up, 17-0 against the Jets as well. Same thing against the Packers the week before, where you had a huge lead, 28-0, and then they kind of slowly creep back in. So I know the defense has been really good this year. Like you said, the corners, everyone's just kind of flying around the ball, forcing turnovers, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It seems like, it's only 2 games, so we're still early in the season and whatnot too. But is there any concern on your end with the defense letting these teams creep back into games?
I'm not too concerned with that because when I think about it, other teams are going to make a run eventually. Vikings aren't going to win the game 41-0. The other team is going to make their adjustments just like the Minnesota Vikings make their adjustments. And even though the Jets and the Packers made these big late game comebacks to make it a 1-score game, well, that happens all the time. And I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are any different than any other team. You see teams blowing out teams all the time, and then you see another team that's not a crappy team make a comeback and put pressure on the opposing teams, especially teams like the Green Bay Packers and New York Jets, who aren't necessarily bottom feeders in the league like the Carolina Panthers are. They're going to make a run. They're too good not to, just like in the NBA game. The team's up by 30 points. Well, all of a sudden the lead gets cut down to 10 because they made a bunch of threes in a row. Same thing happens in the NFL. And I'm not as concerned about them coughing up these big leads late in the games because of who they're playing against. Now, if this was happening against the Panthers or another bottom feeder in this league, well, that's something to be concerned about. But because they're doing this against the Jets and the Packers, well, then I'm not as concerned about it.
Good teams, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked about this before. The schedule favors you guys. You said you get a bye week, you get healthy, you got Detroit. So, hey, let's just say you're not going to go 17-0. Let's chalk up at least one loss against Detroit. Then you got Rams, Colts, Jags, Titans, Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears again.
Right.
And then, I mean, even going into week 16, Seattle. Seattle looks, coming off a loss against the Giants. Let's just say you lose 2 of those games. You're still already at 10 wins there, over 10 wins. And then you wrap up with Green Bay and Detroit. So those last 2 weeks, it looks like, are going to be very important. And you've got a 2-month stretch here where you've got a lot of 2.5-month stretch of a lot of winnable games that can kind of set you guys up.
Yeah, the challenge that the Vikings are going to have during this midpoint of the season is overlooking the opponent. Can't overlook the Titans, can't overlook the Jaguars, can't overlook the Colts. Because if you do, they could easily lose one of those games. Not because the other team is better than them, but because they didn't take them very seriously like they did the 49ers and Texans and Packers and Jets. So it should and how it looks, felt like the water boy right there. And
then Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime at a Bourbon Bowl, and my dogs won.
Bobby Boucher is now on offense. Last game of the year.
Captain Insano.
Shows no mercy.
That ain't no guess. It's what it's going to be. Whoa, easy down there, Swanee.
Why don't you visualize?
Let's play the game. You got to leave it all out on the field. Yes, we know. They should show me your movies, and I like them too. That's a great movie.
I was wondering if you needed a water boy.
That's where movies were movies.
What's that?
So that's when movies were movies.
That's when movies were movies, right? Happy Gilmore too. I'll be curious to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Netflix, and I feel like those 20, 30-year sequels are just like, hey, that's a cool idea, but it's just, and the execution is never great.
Right. I was having a conversation with someone, a group the other day, and I said, what's the best like sequel movie out there? Like you think about movies and you think about like the part 1 and part 2, and what movies have just absolutely crushed it? And the first one that came to my mind was Top Gun Maverick. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies of all time. But then someone actually had a great response and was like, why did they just fire a missile? Like, why are they flying planes into a danger zone when they could just send a missile from a ship?
Danger Zone, that's a great song.
Yeah.
I would say Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars.
I'm a Star Wars guy.
Love Star Wars. That's a great sequel. I've never seen the Godfather movies, but a lot of people say Godfather 2 is as good, if not better, than Godfather 1. Yeah.
So there's movies out there.
There are movies out there. What did I just watch? Oh, no, we watched Lord of the Rings last night.
Wow.
Lord of the Rings, the TV show, the Amazon show.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know there was a TV show.
So it's super, super boring, and I typically will fall asleep. Like I'll put it on. Amanda really likes it, but I know I'm going to fall asleep. So I'm like, all right, great. Get an extra 45 minutes of sleep tonight.
It's like an early bird gets the worm. We get up and record this on Tim.
Yeah, go ahead and put that on, honey.
I can't wait.
Can't wait for you to tell me about this tomorrow morning. What happened?
The way I found out about how my wife always falls asleep on the couch next to me when we watch a TV show or whatever. The only way that it keeps her awake is if we turn on an electric, thrilling movie. Like a couple months ago, I turned on The Patriot, and she was just like at the edge of her seat watching The Patriot. Last night, we turned on Django Unchained.
That's your go-to electric thriller of a movie is The Patriot.
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie, but it's the movie about the Revolutionary War from 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's very thrilling. You don't think that's very thrilling?
That is not a thrilling movie. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it. That is not a thrilling movie.
Oh, it's a thrilling movie.
I'm gonna ride my station wagon into the town center to fight the British. There's no way that's a.
They didn't have a station wagon back in the day, but they rode their horse.
Yeah, a horse and wagon.
Oh, yeah.
A buggy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say like Transformers or Top Gun Maverick? That's like a thrilling movie.
Really, The Patriot's a thrilling movie. Django Unchained last night was a thrilling movie.
A thriller.
It is.
Not a thriller.
How do you describe it then?
That's like a period piece. That's not a thriller action movie.
It's an Django?
Django Unchained?
Yeah, that's an action movie. He's pulling out a gun, shooting all these guys. My wife was into it.
I never think of a Tarantino movie as an action movie. Well, I guess, yeah, that's wrong. I shouldn't say that.
It's got some great actors in that movie. Jamie Foxx, Leo, Samuel.
That scene where he smacks his hand down on the table and breaks the glass.
Yeah.
Like, apparently that was real. Like, that wasn't supposed to happen. He actually, like, cut himself and then just stayed in character and was like...
Who did that?
Leo.
Oh.
Leo's
when his hand was all bloody?
Yeah, and he, like, wiped it on the lady's face.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Apparently, like, they just stayed in character and kept the cameras rolling. And then afterwards, he was, like, actually, like, he had a big gash in his hand.
Oof. He's one of the best actors ever.
He is.
Yeah.
Patriot, huh?
Patriot.
Mel Gibson.
It's a great movie, man. You should go watch it.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch that.
It's a great movie. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. That's for sure.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Yep. Got Heath Ledger in that one.
Isn't that like a 3-hour movie though?
Takes a little while. It takes a little bit. There's a storyline.
Takes a little bit to get to the thrilling part.
No. The thrilling part happens right away when the British kill his son and then Mel takes his kids and then they fire all these bullets at him, which is awesome. They're hiding in the woods.
Yeah, aren't they hiding in the woods for like an hour and a half?
No, they don't show an hour and a half. They show them running to the woods, hiding. The British come by, pull out their guns, and they shoot them. They're hiding in the bushes.
The thicket. The Patriot.
They're hiding in Devin Hester's bush, and then they let the British go by. They pop up.
King George III and his rifle, his boner rifles, are hunting them down. Huh.
That's right. Let me pull up a picture here. Let me so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at this. This is thrilling, man. I just don't know how you don't think it's a thriller. Look at this. Look at that. That's a picture of a thriller.
Look at that first picture, though. The Wikipedia one.
Where?
That's the first picture.
Oh, yeah, that one.
That one looks like, yeah.
That's just the cover of the movie. Look at that one.
Yeah. It does not look thrilling.
Look at that. He's carrying the flag. Man.
Bloodied.
Bloody gash. But is there anything else you wanted to say, bud?
No, I think we about covered it all.
I think we did.
Appreciate you having me on, as always.
Thank you, bud.
Love where our discussions go.
Wednesday morning. It's a tradition. Everyone, thank you for watching. And Tony, thank you.